martial arts, forms are collections of techniques, a way to remember the movements, a way to practice fighting situations alone, and of course, sometimes this is part of the purpose. But in Chow Gar, forms are not just simply technique collections. They are ways of remembering principles, patterns, the way of using the body. Today, we have a look at the Saam Bo Pin Kiu form, which means 3 steps pressing bridge. And this is the 4th of the 6 core forms in our Mini Academy series. And this one is introducing something very important, the chasing pattern. Let's have a look. By the time a student reaches this form, already several important things should be in place. First off, it comes the Saam Bo Gin, which is the foundation form of Chow Gar. And as explained before, we don't like to look at it as a normal form because it doesn't even look like a normal form. It stands apart from the other forms. We rather look at it as the most fundamental Qigong exercise of the system, which already teaches a lot of things. It teaches structure, loading, charging, release, connectivity, bridge power. So from this perspective, it is very, very, very important. That's why the students learn it at the beginning. It is the first form, but in many ways, it is the highest level of form. It actually contains everything which makes Chow Gar what it is. Simple? Yes. Easy? Absolutely not. Not at all, naturally, because apparently real Kung Fu had to be somewhat inconvenient. But after Saam Bo Gin, the other forms start to switch the focus. We refer to them as mostly technical forms. You know, the structure is still there, the power generation is still there, the internal is still there, the alignment is still there, but each and every form introduces something different and asks a different question. For instance, Saam Gin Yiu Kiu, the movements start to become longer. You start to see San Sao ideas inside the form, and the body moves clearly through technical patterns. The hands are not just moving by themselves. The body leans into the movement with structure. The weight, the step, the bridge, and the intention all have to arrive together. In the closing section, with the back and forth stepping with the San Sao techniques, the student clearly gets the impression that this is not just about structure, it's about how the structure can be maintained while the body is moving. And then comes the Saam Bo Pai Kiu form. Here the bridge becomes heavier, the movement's much shorter, more compressed. You cannot really do Pai Kiu if your bridge is not heavy enough. You already need structure, you already need internal alignment, you already need some power in the frame. Without all these, it becomes only arm movement. And arm movement is very popular, unfortunately, mainly because arm movements are very visible and people love to be betrayed by visible things. And an interesting point in our lineage, Yiu Kiu and Pai Kiu once were practiced together. And in Ip Qigong's lineage, even today, we still practice many times, usually mostly, these two forms together. This is a very important information because this means that these two forms are not separate islands. They are connected stages of development. Yiu Kiu opens with the San Sao in movement, Pai Kiu makes the bridge heavier, and Pin Kiu asks different questions. Can you chase with these techniques? So this is when Pin Kiu form comes in. It introduces a different quality, a new pattern, the chasing pattern. Forward and backward stepping, short movements, the constant pressure, the sinking, the shoulder move, and clearly the fighting attitude. The form is not complicated, the form is not too long, it's very easy to remember, but it's very easy to do it without content. You can do the steps, you can copy the hands, you can copy the movement, but if there's no chasing attitude inside, then you completely miss the form. Now I'm going to show you the complete form. Watch through. Don't just look at the hands. Look at 3 things. The Pin Kiu technique, the chasing motion, and the shoulder hit with the sinking. These are the 3 key things you should look at, and we are going to come back after the form. So let's start off with the Pin Kiu technique itself. Pin Kiu is translated often as slicing bridge, but you can hear it as pressing bridge, chopping bridge, or level hand. Don't get trapped by the translation. The important thing is what the movement does. It cuts through the line. It's not just cutting, it's not just hitting or blocking or pressing. It's not just a nice hand shape to impress the camera, however the camera likes to be impressed. But the most important thing is how it works. The hands move together. One cuts high and the other one, lower, supports the motion. But the movement does not come just from the hand, from the stance, from the hip, the shoulder, the elbow, all moves together. If your arm arrives first, and then the body, then it's not good. That's why at this stage you need already body connectivity. The movement must feel like one body expressing pressure through two hands. The next key point is the chasing pattern. In many forms, a technique is performed and the body resets. In Saam Bo Pin Kiu, the feeling is different. Here, you don't stop, you keep going. You keep the pressure, you keep the power, you're chasing. The stepping is not just footwork, it carries the fighting attitude. The third key point is the shoulder. For the first time in the forms or in the techniques, the shoulder becomes not just a part of the body structure, but also it becomes a weapon which is used against your opponent. And here what is important that it shows exactly if the shoulder is connected to the body. A separate shoulder movement doesn't do anything, it will become just a short movement. But if it is connected to the body and we don't lose structure, it becomes a weapon. If the body is connected, then the whole power comes through the body and the shoulder becomes only a contact point where we give this power to the opponent. In this case, the force comes from the structure and the opponent will feel it. It is a small movement, but with the whole body. That's the idea. In case we talk about application, which we don't like to talk about because, as I explained, these forms are not about application. However, as I also mentioned, they can be interpreted or certain parts like fighting situations. So, if we go back to the pattern, with the Pin Kiu, you not just swipe away, you make a pressure, you even hit to the head or neck level, and with the other one you cover or you press away or you hit away another hand if you just want to imagine a situation. And then you start doing the chasing, the pressure. In this specific position where I am, you see step back with an open palm called Sao, which looks a little bit odd here, or you might not understand what is the meaning or the purpose of it. But if you think about an actual situation, here you step in and here's a bridge, here's a hand which you just pushed away with the other hand. And when you come backwards and you do the God Sao movement, with the step, you do the God from outside, and with this hand, the other hand, you make a little hook with the fingers and do an opposite movement, which is kind of breaking the bridge, breaking the opponent's bridge. And for this, that's why we say in this form, you need already the body connectivity, you need the internal structure, because as just a simple hand movement, this is not going to work. But if you put the body in it, the connected body, this is going to disrupt, make already harm, break the hand. So just as an example of the application part or the fighting situation. And that's why I said attitude is very, very important. Let's talk about some common mistakes. First of all, the Pin Kiu is not just an arm movement, okay? This will not do anything. This is one mistake. The other mistake is that real chasing is not rushed. You have to have your whole structure into the chasing. That will make it become really effective. So just running after someone Also, it just looks funny. Rushing this part doesn't make any sense unless you're on so high level and you can keep your structure and your power on that level that this is going to work for you. Then it will look also good. So, how to practice this form? As we tell many times in our program, conscious practice is the most important. It's much more valuable than practicing a lot and not paying attention. So start slowly with the form and check your movements. Check the pin kiu if you do it only with the hand or your body is in. Also look at the chasing, don't rush, just keep your body moving together with the bridge movements. And try to feel if your body holds any pressure or you just went through the form. If the bridge is contained, if you have the connectivity, if you feel the structure, if you feel that anything would happen if you will do the pressing bridge technique or if you will do the San Sao. Then you can start increasing your power level after you're conscious. And you can try to increase the speed, which should not go against the quality of the form. If you like this type of content, please follow us, give us a thumbs up, because that helps us to create more content like this. And in the next one, we are going to cover the Yam Yuen Kam La form, the Yin Yang seizing hand. See you in the next video.